Welcome back to An Athlete's Journey. I'm your host, Travis Reed, and today I got a special guest, somebody I used to look up to, one of those California legends, as you would say. We got so many of them, people. You know what I'm saying? Trust me, I don't even know if I ever get to all of them, but he's another one. He is another one who played professional ball, now coaches professional ball. I remember watching him when I was seventh, eighth grade, even probably even sooner, maybe sixth. He was one of those California stars that was always under the radar, but he was Klay Thompson before Klay Thompson. 6'4", could really, really shoot. Just silky smooth jumper. I loved his game. And like I said, he used to bust me, saying whenever we play one on one or something. Just no layups, all jumpers, all 18 feet and 20 feet and out. So please introduce yourself to the people, please.
Shoot, I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm like, oh, I forgot we on a Zoom call. He talking about me. Nah, yeah, your boy Marlon Garnett,
Yeah, man.
Trav, pleasure, man, for having me on. I'm glad you reached out. Appreciate the birthday wishes to reconnect. So it's just a pleasure to see you doing well, man, and to be on this platform.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, bro. And like I said, like I was like the people. I'm not joking. Like, look, we wasn't shooting threes like that back then, but he was the best shooter. I'm telling you, I used to work out with him, and I seen him. You know what I'm saying? He was like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, just chump, chump, chump. You know what I'm saying? So, well, anyway,
Love it.
Juan, let's get into your, story, man.
Yes,
How
sir.
did your journey to basketball start?
So man, I think it's pretty much just like, most of the young kids coming up. You fall in love with a game that you kind of just played on, at the park just for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Before it was about money or, scholarships or whatnot. You just trying to get out and find something to do, especially growing up where we grew up. You want to stay out of trouble. So I had an older brother who was in the streets. So I'm like, what's another option? And I played a lot of sports, played T-ball, baseball, played, Pop Warner football. But for some reason, I just gravitated to basketball. So basketball kind of called me. I mean, I would say about 7 years old, and just going to random parks around West LA, Pan Pacific, Gardner, Poinsettia, all in North Hollywood and the Valley. Just wherever there was basketball, pickup was a more prominent thing than we see now. It's a lot of workout stuff going on right now. Where back then it was 5-on-5. And if you was a
Mm-hmm.
youngin, you might not even play. You playing against older cats, but I think that's what actually helped you get, physically tougher, a little bit strong, like a little mentally tough. And I think that helps, and it helped my career. I know with where I've gone is to not be mentally fragile, to be able to deal with failure, to be able to have a character of persevering, and it just creates a fiber and a cloth in you that you able to weather when things don't go your way. And so I started that at a young age, and it wasn't always roses. I came home with plenty of bloody knees and hit in the face, but it was, I mean, I hate to use the word drug, but you went back for more, and then you start to grow up a little bit more, and you realize trainers and other mentors, other coaches around that's just want to help young cats out. And so part of what I do now is I use a scripture that's kind of the purpose of like who I am as a person and as a coach. It's Luke 12:48. It says, "To whom much is given, much is required." I had a ton of people. I won't list like the names of people that helped me along the way to polish that jump shot that you talked about. All right, I wasn't the most gifted, super duper athlete, right? I wasn't blessed with super skill, but I did have a crazy work ethic. And what skill I did have, I was going to make the most of it. I was
Mm-hmm.
going to be the best that I possibly can with what I was given.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever that ceiling was, I was going to make sure I reached that ceiling and do everything in my control to be able to give myself the best chance. So, as I got older and I realized, oh, I can go to school for free playing basketball because, my mom wasn't well off. I grew up with just a single mom. Pops wasn't around. I didn't meet my biological father till I was 12. Um, so I knew that she couldn't afford to pay for school, to send me to a school.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember the day, but she often reminds me. She was like, "Nah, you told me, Mom, don't worry about me. I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna get to school." So now as an adult, I was speaking stuff to an existence way back when, and um, that love just continued to build. And as I got a little bit older, uh, what was this? 12 years old, I ended up meeting my biological father, who's from Louisiana. And so my mom was trying to do the best to have like a male in my life, obviously my biological father, which would have been a good story. So she decides let's move to Louisiana because he was supposed to be taking a job out that way. So we moved to Louisiana, which kind of took me out of, you mentioned being under the radar. I had grew up in LA, but I wasn't really in a California hoops mix at that point. So I was gone for 4 years and I didn't come back till the end of my sophomore year. So it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like starting over and kind of trying to build a name and build a rep. I navigated, and I mean, you know how it is. Even like when you choose in college, like people will find talent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People will find that diamond in the rough. If you're doing it and you're doing it and you're about the right things and about your right approach and about the right mindset, you'll be seen. And so, long story short, I have a decent high school career at Hamilton High School.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
end up being seen by assistant coach named Larry Hauser at Cal State Dominguez. That's where the Pump brothers, Dave and Dana,
Mm-hmm.
was hosting Pump Camp. And I remember going into that gym, and it's like 350, top college coaches just in there trying to find that next talent for their college.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't heavily recruited. However, and we're talking about this before we came on, had I waited and not signed early at the end of my junior year, played out my senior year, I probably would have had a handful of top colleges that I could have went to. But I firmly think that had I waited, I probably would have ended up at UCLA. Being a West Coast Los Angeles boy, born and raised, all of my buddies went to where you went, UCLA. Beautiful campus over there. Westwood is a great, community, great area. And basketball, historically at UCLA was it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
No, no, definitely, definitely.
yeah.
No, no, you had the talent. I definitely thought that, he was high D level talent, you know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I guess you was like kind of like the bird in the hand worth two in the bush kind of thing, like when you signed after your junior year. Because
Well,
usually people
so,
don't
some
do
of it
that.
too. Some of it too. Back then, Santa Clara, well, I guess it was considered like mid-major.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I do know I did have the sense that wherever I went, I wanted to play kind of right away. I
Okay.
wasn't necessarily expecting to start or be the guy or anything like that, but I didn't want to like sit the bench.
Mm-hmm.
I knew the type of work that I put into it, especially the summer. So I had already signed my letter of intent. I knew I was going to Santa Clara, but I had never played a game of college basketball. Why would I know what college basketball is about? But that
Right.
same mindset of putting everything I had in my control to be as ready as possible. After I graduated high school, that summer, 3 months was an insane workout. I mean, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to go as far as to say it was like extreme, like a Kobe type of summer, but it sure felt like it. So I was going, and you would appreciate it because you'll know all these landmarks. So I was staying up late because
Mm-hmm.
I would watch like random comedy stuff and a little bit of my high school tape. Be like 2, 3 in the morning, I go to sleep. So I'd sleep in, it'd be, 12, 1 o'clock. eat lunch, whatnot, and then I'll start my workout probably at 5. And it started with a swim workout. So I would go to Pico Pool right off of Pico Boulevard,
Mm-hmm.
Pico and
Mm-hmm.
West,
Mm-hmm.
get an hour swim. Straight from there, I'll go to Sand Dune. And this is before you had to pay in the
Oh,
parking. So
yeah,
I go to
yeah.
Sand Dune, and it was actually with one of our assistant coaches from Hamilton, his brother, who was a Fairfax guy. Because my brother went to Fairfax. So
Mm-hmm.
he's like a family friend. And, blessing to him for, being a person that like my sidekick to help me, help motivate me. So we would go to, so from the pool to the dune by 6:30 at the dune, get that in, come back, grab something to eat. I had the key at Hamilton at the time. So go to Hamilton about 10, this is PM, and then that's when I would lift for about an hour. And then like 11:30 was when we would get like individual work or small group, depending on if I invited people. And what turned into basically like a midnight run for that summer. So we were getting like 25, 30 cats. We had to send people away at like midnight, 12:30 in the morning, play a 5-on-5.
Mm.
And so that was the 3 months leading up to going to Santa Clara my freshman year. And no question I was in the best shape of my life
Yeah,
because I wanted
sounds
to be
like it.
ready. I,
Yeah.
I wanted, I mean, I wanted to be ready. I didn't know what to expect, but I know
No.
one thing in my control, I can control like the condition and the shape that I was in.
For
Physically, I
sure.
was going to be ready.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, no, no, you definitely sound like you was, man. That's crazy. Not
Yeah.
gonna lie, you know what I'm saying? So, okay, you get to Santa Clara,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and you got, how do you know if you guys are gonna be good or not? Did you see talent within that team, or how did your first year go?
First year was not very good, especially for the conference that was in, and not that we had any team that was like that much better. Pepperdine at the time, surprisingly, was still decent around that time. Um, my freshman year, Gonzaga was just starting to like creep up.
Oh, okay, it wasn't like
Obviously,
the,
yeah, obviously we had our round. So to answer your question, how did I know we would be good? Partly because we had a point guard named Steve Nash, who his freshman year, the whole Arizona upset in the tournament, his name was like about to be on the map. So I'm about to be in the backcourt with, now looking back, a guy who was a two-time MVP, assist leader, all the accolades that, Hall of Fame cat, Hall of
yeah.
Fame point guard. And to have a guy that skilled, that talented, that kind of IQ, that type of teammate,
Mhm.
um, in the backcourt and the head of your snake, the engine, you're gonna be pretty good. How good? We didn't know. So the freshman year, we didn't make the tournament. We finished like was it like 6 or 7 out of 12 or 13 teams. I can't even remember how many teams, but not very good. And then my
Mhm.
sophomore year, we took off, made the tournament, and lost to Mississippi State in the first round
Mhm. Mhm.
up in Boise. Junior year, we leveled up and we even got better. Made it to the tournament. Um, we beat Maryland, which had like a squad. They had just lost Joe Smith, but they still had like X-Ray Hip, Johnny Rose. They had a crew.
Right.
We ended up beating them. This is at ASU
Mm.
tournament at ASU. We beat them in the first round, and then we ended up losing to Kansas, Paul Pierce, in the second round.
Right.
And then so Steve graduated that year. He was ahead of me.
Mhm.
And so going into my senior year, because of the fact that Steve was leaving successful, college career, they were like, "Oh, we're not sure how Santa Clara is going to be. They're losing their point guard."
Right.
One writer, I think it's the San Jose Mercury
Mhm.
or San Francisco, one of those Northern California newspapers. I'll never forget Trav. His name is Chuck Dibdahl.
Mm.
He did the whole like preseason predictions, and they picked us to finish. It was like second to last or like bottom two. And he had the nerve to say I was the most overrated player in the West Coast Conference.
Wow.
So, but I tell this story because, and I'll fast forward and I'll rewind. I got a chance to talk to him at the end of my senior year,
Hmm.
and I told him I was glad that I was the one that you would say was the most overrated. Going back to the mental like strength that I had, I knew I could handle that. And cliche, it was motivation, it was fire for me to level up even more going into
Hmm.
my senior year. And so what I told him was, I can't imagine if you had said that to somebody who may not have been mentally strong like that, who was a little bit more fragile, who could have went the other way.
Hmm.
Appreciate you telling me. And he was very gracious. He apologized. He basically like took it back. So I ended up being West Coast Conference Player of the Year,
Right.
and we won the league. But in my whole 4 years, for some reason, we could not play well in the West Coast Conference tournament. We
Yeah.
lost in the first, so we lost in the first round all 4 years, from my sophomore year to my senior year. Those last 3 years,
Hmm.
first seed, and we lost to the eighth seed in the first round.
Hmm.
And two of those years was in Santa Clara, was on our home court.
That's
But
crazy.
so crazy. But so my sophomore, my junior year, because we had such a decent non-conference schedule, we still got into the tournament.
Right. No, I mean,
And
I remember one year, I think it was your sophomore year, I beat UCLA.
yeah, so I believe that might have been my junior year, because I believe my sophomore year was when UCLA won a champ. It was
Yeah.
because I think I'm 1 year ahead of Toby, and Toby I think won it in his freshman year.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Yeah,
There was the next year with
Cameron Dollar, Charles,
yeah, Jelani
JR.
McCoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we ended up playing them very first game in
Yep.
Hawaii
Yep.
in the Maui
Yep.
Invitational, and that's when we beat them.
Yeah. I watched. I was there. You know, I'm UC, die
Yeah.
hard at
So
UCLA, so I
that
remember.
that game for me was like one of those bragging right games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
was telling you, all them UCLA cats were like my boys. Those are cats that
Right.
I spent all summer being from LA.
Right.
That was the best pickup basketball at the men's gym at
Mm-hmm.
UCLA.
Yep.
All those cats was in there.
Yep. Yep. That's why I said I remember that because it was like, everybody was like, what is UCLA going to be like?
Mhm.
Because like they just won a chip, they were still like top five in the, like preseason top five. And they
Yeah,
had Toby, they obviously lost Ed, but they still had Toby, Charles Bannon, Cameron Dollar. They added Jelani McCoy.
right.
So yeah, I remember that team because Chris lost, he lost all that weight, and
Yeah.
so yeah, like first game out the box, I'm like, I see Marlon Kelly, yeah, man, yeah, but I'm like, damn, not against UCLA.
Right. Right.
I remember that.
Yeah, now that was a fun game. That was a
Yeah.
fun game.
So you win Player of the Year, in
Yep.
your conference. Were there NBA scouts trying to draft
So
you, or
I,
how did that
I,
go?
I'm glad you asked that question. So I win Player of the Year. Steve, a year prior, had just left. He's in the NBA, so
Hmm.
you would think we get some kind of looks. And my coaching staff was great, doing everything that they could to try to get me to some of these pre-draft workouts.
Hmm.
Right. So fast forward, I didn't end up working out not Portsmouth, not Chicago, not any of them. And so Coach Davey, who was my coach at the time, he had a relationship with Marty Blake, and he had reached out to Marty, and Marty basically told him, he was like, we basically missed. We he got lost, under the radar, got lost, and there's no way we should not have invited him to. I mean, at least Portsmouth.
Yeah, you were the player of the year in the
Yeah,
West Coast Conference. How you don't get invited?
right.
You know?
So it was an uphill battle from there, my NBA journey.
Hmm.
Had a couple little informal workouts that next
Hmm.
summer. And so didn't get drafted, few workouts, um, ended up going overseas to Turkey.
Mm.
That didn't happen until like January, February. So from graduating in June, well, through the whole preseason, the NBA preseason and whatnot, I didn't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
And my coach actually knew he was a scout for the Cavaliers at the time, but he was a Turkish guy who had some ties to some of the Turkish teams over there.
Mm.
I went over there and played for like 4 months. It was the tail end of the season, it was like halfway point to the end of the season.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, Came back the next summer, and then that's when we had the lockout of '99.
Mm.
So the
Okay.
NBA was locked out. Still at UCLA, men's gym was rocking as it always had been. Working out, start to get some looks, and one day Rick Pitino happened to be in the gym. The reason why he was in the gym, it was because they had drafted Paul Pierce.
Right, right, right,
So the
right, right,
draft happened, but it was a lockout, so the season hadn't started.
right.
But they knew that Paul was going to be, with Paul is from, LA, Inglewood. And so he's up there working out. And I'm up there. I mean, I had been killing all summer the whole time. And I'm up there killing. So my agent is hitting me. He's like, yo, Patino likes you. Boston could be a chance, but obviously we can't do no negotiating right now because of the collective bargaining and the lockout.
Right.
For us, we like, man, until we sign it,
Yeah,
I
you know
don't
what I'm
need
saying?
nothing.
I don't,
All this, like, yeah, sound good, but
yeah.
until I ink it, so I'm like, what am I going to do? I end up going to the CBA
Mm-hmm.
and literally was there for one day because the night before I left, I had so he wasn't my agent at the time, but it's the same agent that represented me for this Boston deal when it all like transpired. But Dan Fagan, rest
Yeah.
his soul.
Mm-hmm.
We had dinner the night before I was supposed to be reporting to Grand Rapids, Michigan team,
Mm-hmm.
and he said after dinner I was intrigued to call like the NBA teams that I knew.
Right.
So he reached out to like 10 or 15 teams, and he said he was getting some really good feedback. So his suggestion was, won't you just stay and just keep working out like you're doing? I'll take care of you for the 3, 4, however many months before the lockout's going to be lifted.
Right.
Then we'll see where we are. So I'm like, that sounds good to me. But since I had committed already so Mark Hughes was the coach in Grand Rapids. I had built a
Mm.
relationship and try to be a person of my word. I told him I would come, so I wanted to at least go. So I still took the flight, had a nice conversation, sit down with him, and told him, hey, this is the plan. I apologize that I'm not going to, work out with the team, but I feel like this is probably the best thing for my career. But I did want to come anyway. And so he said, won't you do me a favor? Because we had practice that day. He said, won't you come to practice because there's a couple of people that's specifically coming to see you and another guy on the team. And so I'm starting to feel like, oh, there's some traction now. I'm hearing it from him. I'm hearing it from my now agent, who he was telling me, he feels good enough where he's going to take care of me for a few months until the lockout ends, and then we'll see where we are.
Right. 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 Right.
I basically come back to LA, and this is October, November-ish,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So the lockout ends up ending that
December, I think.
second week of January or
Oh,
something like
second.
that, like
Oh, yeah.
January
Okay. Okay.
9th or something like that.
Right.
And I was actually in Vegas. So I've been working out hard. I said, yo, with my homeboy, I said, let's go to Vegas, man. I need a weekend. Just go get a massage, kick it, whatnot. We're driving back to LA from Vegas the day that the lockout ended. And I'm sleeping in the car. He hears on the radio, lockout has officially ended. He's like, yo, wake up. Lockout's over with, da da da. My phone's blowing up. My mom is hitting me saying, "Hey, you need to reach out to your agent and call." Can't even remember who it was. It wasn't Coach Pitino, but it was somebody from the Celtics organization.
Right. Right. Right.
I'm looking like, oh, this for real. I, I get back to LA. My agent hit me. He's like, look, they want you to come to Boston like ASAP.
Hmm.
And the way that agreement was set up in the NBA was that first week only draft picks and returning players could be in market. So like Paul could go and the return Antoine Walker, the dudes that they have on the roster, could be there. So they had me there using an alias name. So
Oh,
me and Paul, I never forget the name they gave me. Me and Paul was in a hotel, but I was under the name Sam Isaac because I
okay.
wasn't supposed to be there for a week. So I'm doing individuals, working out with the strength guy, getting shots or whatever. And then once that week was over, I could join the team. So like it's like a little mini camp. So I'm hooping with the team, and Patino was really good, really gracious to me. He was like, "Look, we like you, we want to keep you, and we want to try to get something done before training camp starts because I want you to go in with a free mind and not worry about getting injured and this and that and the third." And it worked out. Now, details of like my contract, I could argue certain stuff, and me and my agent had some conversations about certain things I won't go into or how it went down, but there was my opportunity. There was my open door in the NBA. And so I got my shot. Growing up all these years, aspiring to make it to get to that point. And I don't know what the number is now, but when you think about in the history of the NBA, what is it like 5,000, 4,500 guys that can say that they played a game?
Ever. Yeah.
They can't take that from me. I'm
Yeah.
one of them, right? And it's crazy, it's very humbling, man. It's a lot of gratitude that I have because similar to what you're saying, how you look up and watch me, I think sometimes, especially me, like when I hear you say it or other people, you never know the impact that you may have, like by
Mm-hmm.
how you carry yourself, because it was the same for me. I looked up to like Earl and Baron, like they were younger, but I still looked up to these dudes because they were always like, they made it look easy, like more talented. A lot of these guys, Ricky Price, like a lot of these cats, especially when I moved back from Louisiana, I didn't really know the framework and the dynamic of the players that I'm like, dude is good. And Duke is looking at him, North Carolina, all the big basketball schools, not knowing that I'm their peer.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yep.
Like I can hold my own as well. But it's interesting how impactful that is. Like
Mm-hmm.
we don't even realize in the midst of it. But going back to finally making it to the NBA, and I think about cats that I went to Hamilton with, same thing. Looking up, I'm like, these dudes are heck of good. And so I ran into here in Atlanta. I ran into Barron one day
Okay.
at the Four Seasons, I think, and we were chopping it up. And he was saying some stuff that never in a million years I thought that Baron Davis thought that of me. And it was very humbling, and it brought a lot of joy to my heart, man. It made my spirit feel good. So
Right.
yeah,
Telling you, Marlon, man, like I said, we used to, I remember, like I told you, Pops was telling me, like, you're
uh-huh.
one of the best shooters and this and that. I'll tell you, and this is true, everybody. I'm not even joking. He was Clay Thompson before Clay Thompson. You know what I'm saying? I
I
remember.
love that.
You know what I'm saying? If I could compare your game to anybody, it was, like I said,
That's
Clay.
it. That's it. That's a good comp. And
Yeah.
to this day, like all the places that I've worked now, working in the NBA, I still shoot against those guys.
Right. Right.
And
Right. Right. Right.
I kind of have a rule on whatever team. So I worked in Phoenix,
Hmm.
and we had Troy Daniels and Devin Booker. Those would be the only two that I would shoot against. And no offense to other guys like Josh Jackson would be like, "Hey, let's shoot," and I'll look at him and be like, "Nah, wait, don't even waste your energy." And not in an egotistic way or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Like, don't even come on. No. No. No.
Right.
No.
And so when I came here to Atlanta, I would shoot against Trey. Fun little competition. Part of the sweat equity, working with these guys. I think they appreciate it. And then LaMelo Ball and we shot a lot.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
I probably played the most competitive shooting games against him than anybody. just because he's still like a kid at heart, so he loves that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tell. I can tell.
Yeah,
He seems like just a basketball kid. Like just like I love hooping
he
all the
he
time.
no, yeah, he's playing like it's summer, like from the fun part of it.
Right, 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 right,
Just
right, right.
out there having a good time, just playing off an instinct and just having fun, enjoying the game.